Hello, welcome students in our today's online session. Our today's session we will talk about the literary term irony and idylls. So students, as you already know that literary terms are something which can be referred to the technique, style and formatting used by the writers and speakers to masterfully emphasize, embellish or strengthen their compositions. And as here the term composition is maybe the poem or story, essays or novel, anything. So here in today's session we will talk about irony. So first of all, you must know what is an irony. The definition of irony as a literary device is a situation in which there is a contrast between expectation and reality. For example, the difference between what something appears to mean versus its literal meaning. The irony is associated with both tragedy and humor. So, if we talk about the importance of irony in literature or in any piece of literary writing, the most common purpose of irony is to create humor and point out the absurdity of life, human life. As in the all of the examples above, all of the talking, we or in a real sense we can say life has a way of contradicting our expectations, often in painful ways. And irony generally makes us laugh even when the circumstances are tragic, and they can we laugh not because the situations were tragic but because they violate our expectations. So the contrast between people's expectations and the reality of the situations is not only funny but also meaningful sometimes, because it calls our attention to how wrong human beings can be. So irony is at the best of its use when it points us towards deeper meaning of a situation. So there may be different types of irony in literature or in any in creative writings. Okay, and first of all we can discuss here about verbal irony. So verbal irony, what does it mean by uh, verbal irony? That it takes place when the speaker says something in sharp contrast to his or her actual meaning. So here the speaker often makes a statement that seems very direct yet indicates that the opposite is in fact true, or what the speaker really means. And unlike dramatic and situational irony, verbal irony is always intentional on the part of the speaker. So verbal irony can also consist of ironic similes, which are comparisons in which the two things are not alike at all. For example, as soft as sandpaper or as warm as ice. So these similes mean that the thing in question is actually not soft or warm at all. So uh, here ironic similes have been taken to an extreme by qualifying them, so they actually become real comparison. For example, if we say today was a very cold and bitter day, as cold and bitter as a cup of hot chocolate. So like this. And next, there is also dramatic irony, which occurs when the audience has more information than one or more characters in a work of literature. So this literary device, dramatic irony, originated in Greek tragedy and often leads to tragic outcomes. For example, in Shakespeare's Othello, Shakespeare's tragedy Othello, the audience is aware that Othello's best friend Iago is villainous and attempting to bring Othello down. The audience is also aware that Desdemona has been faithful, though Othello doesn't know this. The audience can foresee the imminent disaster in dramatic irony. So this is actually this shows that how in drama irony makes aware the assumptions of the audience or other characters. Next, there is also situational irony. It consists of a situation in which the outcome is very different from what was expected. There are contradictions and contrasts present in cases of situational irony. For example, in the work The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, the citizens of the Emerald City assume that Oz is great and all powerful, yet the man behind the curtain is revealed to be an old man with no special powers. And there are also certain other types of irony like cosmic irony. Cosmic irony, also known as irony of fate, is present in stories that contain gods who have different agendas than humans. These gods or the fates may play with the lives of humans for their own amusement. This cosmic irony lies in contrast between what the humans expect and what actually happens, though this is most common in Greek legends. It is also present in Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles, where the immortals play with the test life. And there is another kind of irony, another type, which is a Socratic irony. So the philosopher Socrates would pretend to be ignorant about the topic under debate to draw out the nonsensical arguments of his opponent. This is particularly evident in the Platonic dialogues. This technique is an example of dramatic irony because Socrates pretended to have less information than he really did. And there is another related term with irony, that is sarcasm. And what is sarcasm? That sarcasm is a kind of verbal irony that has a biting or critical tone, although it can be used to express affection between friends. It is one of the most common forms of irony in fiction and in real life. We have all heard people use verbal irony to mock or to insult or to poke fun at someone or something. For example, here is a famous sarcastic line from the work Princess Bride. I quote, "Truly you have a dizzying intellect." So in this, here Wellesley is insulting the intelligence of Visney the Silicon using verbal irony, the word truly. It makes more ironic, as Wesley is reassuring Visney of the truth of an untrue statement. So this line is both ironic and mean, and therefore it's a sarcastic one. So one needs to be a little careful with sarcasm, since we can easily hurt people's feelings or make them angry. If we talk about some few examples of irony which in literature, so the first example I have cited here, that is in O. Henry's famous short story, The Gift of the Magi, where a husband who sells his prized watch so that he can buy combs as a gift for his wife. Meanwhile, the wife sells her beautiful hair so she can buy a watch chain for her husband. So the characters' actions contradict each other's expectations, and their efforts to give each other gift make the gifts useless. So this is a very important example of irony. And there is also a story by Edgar Allan Poe's The Cask of Amontillado that is full of verbal and situational irony, including the name of the main character. He is called Fortunato, Italian for fortunate. in spite of the fact that he is extremely unlucky throughout the story. And there is also one more example. You can see here in the line, water, water everywhere, nor any a drop to drink. So this particular line from Samuel Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner describes the dark irony of a sailor dying of thirst on his boat while he is surrounded by water. So this is very much an ironic situation. Now, if we talk about some more examples, you can also find out in the play Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. In this famous love story, the audience can foresee the tragic ending long before Romeo and Juliet themselves know what's going to happen. At the end of the play, Romeo finds Juliet and believes her to be dead, though the audience knows she is taken a sleeping potion. Romeo kills himself with his false knowledge. Juliet then wakes up and, finding Romeo truly dead, kills herself as well. This irony example is one of dramatic irony, as the audience has more information than the characters themselves. And likewise, there is also a quotation from which has been taken from the play Julius Caesar by Shakespeare. I am reading for you. Mark Antony. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. In this quote from Julius Caesar, Mark Antony is seemingly praising Brutus after the assassination of Julius Caesar. However, this example of irony is one of verbal irony, since Mark Antony is in fact implying that Brutus is neither ambitious nor honorable. If we talk about the difference between irony and sarcasm, so though there are many similarities between verbal irony and sarcasm, they are not equivalent. However, there are many dissenting opinions about how exactly they are different. For example, in Encyclopedia Britannica, it is explained in it that sarcasm is non-literary irony, and it is also argued that employing verbal irony actually is saying the opposite of what the person means. Sarcasm, on the other hand, sarcasm is a direct speech, that is aggressive humor. So now come to the next literary term, that is idylls. So idyll, also spelled as idyll from Greek idyllion, with spelled as idyll, and it has been taken from the Greek term idyllion, which means little picture. So idylls, a short poem of a pastoral or rural character in which something of the element of landscape is depicted or suggested. The term was used in Greco-Roman antiquity to designate a variety of brief poems on simple subjects in which the description of natural objects was introduced. The conventions of the pastoral were developed by the Alexandrian school of poetry, particularly by Theocritus, Bion, and Moschus in the 3rd century BC. And the idylls of the Theocritus are the source of the popular idea of this type of poem. This word idyll was revived during the Renaissance period, when some poets employed it to distinguish narrative pastoral from those in dialogue. The general use or misuse of the word arose in the 19th century from the popularity of two works, the Idylls Hercules of Victor Richard and the Idylls of the King of Alfred Lord Tennyson, the Victorian poet, neither of which was related to the pastoral tradition. Thereafter, the word was used indiscriminately to refer to works of a variety of subjects. Although it is impossible to define the idyll as a definite literary form, the adjective idyllic has come to be synonymous with the rustic, pastoral, and tranquil, the mood that was first created by Alexandrian poets. So, this is a whole or enough for today. All about this lesson that we have talked here about two major important literary terms, irony and idyll. So thank you, students.